I had to stop thinking about the process of everything and start to think about the desired outcome, and then base the process off of that desired outcome, and not just pick a process I liked and have to deal with whatever outcome came out of it.
Oh, hi, Mark.
Hey, Mark.
Hey, Mark.
Hey, Mark.
Hey, Mark.
Hey, Mark.
Hey, Mark. Hey, Mark.
Hey, what's up? What's going on? Welcome to another episode of Hey Mark, the podcast where I'm Mark, get to have open and authentic conversations about things like mental health and self-development. And the reason I want to do that is because, I want to be able to kind of connect with the people that are out there thinking that they're alone or they can't connect with others. I just want them to have that one stroke, a moment where they think, holy shit, I'm not the only one that feels like that. So if you're out there, if you're feeling like you are alone, no matter what it is you're dealing with, who you are, where you're from, what it is you're dealing with, you are not alone, and life can and will get better for you. And so what I wanted to chat about with you guys today is something that I used to struggle with quite a bit. And, there's this famous saying called, the ends justify the means, or do the ends justify the means. I don't really know the origins of that saying, but I've heard it a lot in my life, and it has really, it's been something I've been struggling with in the last couple of years, but I think I'm starting to actually really grasp the concept of. And, the way I explain it with, the vocabulary I use is, process-based thinking and outcome-based thinking. And it's something that has been explained to me by a couple of different bosses that I've had. And it's also something that I've read about in a couple of different books. And so I'm going to do my best, my very best, trying to explain this, evolution of thinking, that the way that I've been thinking recently, and, how it's hindered me in the past, and kind of where I'm trying to shift my mind to now. And this is probably going to be a pretty short episode because it's not a very difficult concept to grasp. But let's just jump right into it. So what I mean by process-based thinking is, the way I used to think, the way I guess I think by default. Excuse me. And, that's the way, like I said, I grew up thinking in a process-based way of thinking. And so I was always worried about the processes and how things were being done. And, in conversations, if I got into arguments or debates with people, I would always kind of, I was worried about the process. I was worried about looking good or not sounding like an idiot during the process of the debate. And it wasn't until I got into a sales position where this was a pretty big problem in my life, because, in a sales position, it's not about being right. It's not about arguing with somebody. It's not, overcoming objections isn't like an argumentative thing, which I kind of thought it was in the very beginning. And what I learned was I wanted to kind of, direct my style, and this was something that a manager used to tell me about, and it was directing it to more of an outcome-based conversation. And so what was the outcome I was looking for? Obviously, to make a sale and help this person with the problem that they had in their life at the time. And instead of thinking like that, I was worried more about the process of the conversation and just basically coming across as knowledgeable and being their only option for a solution. And it kind of sounds a little messed up, but that's just kind of, it got competitive for me, and I got kind of aggressive with it. And so once I started to realize a little bit more about outcome-based thinking and thinking more about the outcome, the ends that justify the means, it really helped me out with seeking clarity in a lot of other ways. When I, have, maybe disagreements with people that I love, my friends, my roommates, my family members, I try and think now in a more outcome-based process of thinking. And so before, if we would get in disagreements, I would be worried about the process of thinking. I would be worried about the process of what was happening, the conversation, and basically coming out on top all the time. Or at least if I wasn't right, then I would at least try and sound right. And now I try and approach it from a different perspective, and I think about, what is the outcome that I'm looking for? And how can I kind of start to navigate towards that right now? And this isn't like a manipulative thing. It's just more of a strategy that I try and use, I guess, to communicate with people and not get caught up in the process of the conversation or the goal of the conversation, because a lot of the time that would lead me into situations where I wouldn't want to be in. Maybe I was in an uncomfortable position where I had said something that I didn't mean to say, or I've gotten to an outcome that just wasn't really a favorable outcome. Maybe losing relationships or losing friends, or just kind of, maybe attaching my own self-identity with opinions that weren't even my own opinions. And so I guess what I'm trying to explain right now, and I guess the best way to explain this, is I had to stop thinking about the process of everything and start to think about the desired outcome, and then base the process off of that desired outcome, and not just pick a process I liked and have to deal with whatever outcome came out of it. I guess that's the best way to start explaining it, and I should have started with that, but as usual, I had to ramble for like 5 to 10 minutes before I could actually get to the point of what I'm talking about. And so maybe you're like me, maybe you find yourself getting stuck in situations. Again, I use kind of the example of communication and conversation today, but there's a lot of times where we're in a position, maybe at work, or maybe you're an employee at a company, maybe you manage a company, maybe you run a company or own a company. But a lot of the times we're having to make decisions in work or in business where I guess the process makes us a little bit uncomfortable. We're new to it. Maybe we're having to work with someone that we don't like, and they're going to benefit from it, and so that's going to make you a little bit pissed off or jealous or envious or uncomfortable. But a lot of the time we have to stop thinking about the actual process of how we get to certain outcomes and just think about the favorable outcome that we all want. And so you have to think of that on an individual level, but as well, if you're an employee or a teammate or a team player, I guess, or maybe a leader, then it's a lot more important and it's a lot more useful to think in like a more outcome-based way of thinking. And so again, I know this is kind of an abstract episode, and if this is your first time listening, this, is sometimes how the show is. It's just kind of a random rant, and you might be thinking, well, how is this even connected to mental health and self-development? But, in my eyes, these connections are very obvious. The way that we speak to people, the way that we make other people feel, those are directly linked to, our sense of value, our self-worth, and it's directly tied to mental health and self-development. And so if you can't make that connection and you are suffering, then that's probably one of the indicators of what you might need to work on. And I'm not trying to be a prick about that. I'm being sincere, because I was kind of that type before in my life. I really, was in denial of a lot of the things that I needed to work on, and I always wanted to work on what was convenient to work on about myself, and I never really made any clear development. So that's all I got. I said, like I said, it was going to be a short episode today. This is just kind of like an idea or a thought process that I've been going through recently, just shifting from kind of a process-based, style of thinking to an outcome-based style of thinking, and how can I get the outcome that I'm looking for most often. So I hope that this kind of helps resonate with you or gave you a new perspective, or at the very least it was kind of entertaining just listening to me baffle through my words. If you're brand new to the show, I really appreciate if you do rate the show or subscribe to me on YouTube or share it with a friend even that you think might be able to benefit from this. And if you are a continued listener to this show, then thank you so much. You are the reason I do what I do. That's all I got for today. Much love and peace out.